thou shalt not judge.
Is that a biblical verse? Okay. Why did you judge me then? Why did you come here and tell me what to do?
Yeah, that's a biblical verse. Matthew chapter 7 verse 1. Do not judge that you yourself will not be judged. I wonder why he tries to call her out on this. Was that a biblical verse? Of course it is. Yes, that is a biblical verse.
That means you're judging me. So, can I help you, ma'am?
Pastor David Lynn is an American evangelical street preacher who is, or has, or was in my city on this leg of his world tour, preaching the gospel to Dubliners, telling them about Jesus and salvation, and hopefully trying to be a benefit to their souls. So let's give him a welcome, an open ear. Perhaps there's a critique, and perhaps he will revolutionise our perception of the Christian faith.
Yeah, why did you say to that woman, don't judge you, or don't come near me?
Well, I didn't say don't come near me. Actually, I was inviting her to a conversation.
No, you said, I heard you over there. I heard you over there. And what type of religion are you saying?
Well, I'm only preaching about a person that you know as Jesus. Do you believe in Jesus, who died, was buried, and rose again on the cross?
Can I say something to you? Now, can I say out straight to you now?
Yes, you can.
And I'm saying my opinion to you. Where was your Jesus when young kids were in institutions and raped and sexually abused and beaten in them institutions? I'm a survivor. My mother is a survivor. My brother is a survivor. My other brother was beaten to death. So you tell me where your Jesus was. Come on, just tell me.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah. Look, that's going to be a tough question for anyone. Of course, I would have a problem with street preaching at the best of times, particularly this judgmental kind of, if you don't mend your ways, you're going to hell version of, evangelical Christianity. But in all fairness, no matter who is given this question, this is tough. This woman has opened up about her experience of abuse in institutions. Now, for those who are possibly not aware, there is a long history in Ireland and in many places around the world of clerical institutional sex abuse and violence against children and vulnerable adults. This was perpetrated by members of the Catholic clergy, priests, and by members of Catholic religious orders like nuns and religious brothers and monks. This happened. Let's not beat around the bush. We can't even say that this was a matter of a few bad apples. No, this was very much a culture within the church where people were abused, often sexually, very violently. Sadly, we've heard a story here that we've no reason to doubt that her brother was beaten to death in one of these institutions. We know from various reports that this happened in many instances. The scandal wasn't so much that there was violence or sexual abuse against children. That was horrible and criminal and could have always and should have always been dealt with by the law. The scandal was that many people in the Catholic hierarchy, bishops, cardinals, and possibly all the way up to Rome, for the sake of protecting the reputation of the church, covered up these crimes, often sending abusers to other parishes or to other places where they could continue their abuse and where their reputation, they wouldn't become so well known in their own locality. So off the bat, I feel, first of all, for this woman, I feel her pain She wants to tell someone about this. She's angry at hearing someone preach in her space. I think that needs to be considered. I also feel now for Pastor David Lynn that this is, it's not going to be easy to address, you know, a situation where you're confronted with this amount of pain.
Sure, bad things have happened to me and so many people that I know. And you want to know where Jesus was?
You tell me.
I'm trying to tell you. I will try to tell you. What happened to you doesn't come from God, it comes from the devil. And what happens is your family and your community has opened the doors to sinful and demonic practices, which has caused your city to be infiltrated by wicked people.
Okay, that's insensitive, and it's also just theological rubbish. It's victim blaming. Essentially what this pastor is saying is that you experience this suffering because you have opened the door, essentially because of your own choices, to the devil. The victim is not to be blamed. The victim can't be blamed for their own suffering. This happened because there was a disordered, wicked, evil culture in an institution where she should have been able to expect love, care, compassion. She was betrayed by that institution. Society was let down by these church institutions. They were always at fault. We can't say that this happened because she has done something or her society has done something. No, there are concrete reasons, and good theology should begin with the concrete reasons why things happen. Bad things happen. They don't typically happen for out of the blue. You know, we can, when there's human evil in the world, we can chart it. We can look at it, and we can appreciate the experience of the victim as a victim, and we can understand what happened to the survivor as a survivor without trying to lay any blame on them. I think from the very beginning, David here has taken a very wrong turn.
People, and that is a choice that God has given all men and all women to make. Do you want your families to suffer because of your decisions? Now, if you
No, people did not suffer because of their decisions. And not just talking about clerical abuse in Ireland. You know, people suffer because things beyond their control happen. It's not a matter of bad decisions that someone, an innocent person, was murdered or raped or assaulted. It's not their bad decisions. It's not someone's bad decisions that someone dies of a disease. This is a deeply disordered theology. One that believes that, you know, our relationship to God or our lack of relationship to God causes our illnesses and our sufferings, and if only we will turn to Jesus, things will be made better. This is theological garbage. I hate to be so emphatic here, but this is important. This affects real people's lives. Good Christians get cancer, get very sick, and die. Jesus doesn't promise, you know, Jesus doesn't promise prosperity because we believe in him. You know, the one thing Jesus doesn't promise us is that everything will be okay. What he does promise is that he'll be with us when things aren't okay. I think this preacher could do with trying to understand these basic principles, and he could do with a little bit more compassion.
You make a decision to waste your money on alcohol and on gambling, you're going to make your kids suffer. Is it the child's fault for your decisions? No. But your child. No. So this is. I know. I'm not talking about your children. But listen to me first.
No, I'm finishing this conversation.
You're finishing. Okay.
No.
So you don't want a conversation.
No, I do want
I'm answering your question.
No,
He's now berating her. He has heard that she has suffered, that she's a survivor of extraordinary, she's a survivor of extraordinarily awful things. You know, she's clearly come to him because she's in pain. She wants to share this with someone. Just listen to her. Listen. Show some care and compassion. Be Christ-like. He's berating her. And of course, he has all the power in this because he's got the microphone. You know, and he can withdraw that from her and essentially deplatforming her when he's making a show out of the discussion. He's emceeing it and, of course, curating it. This is real life. Sorry if I'm shouting. This is real life. The impact that he can have on her, the hurt that he can cause her just by opening these wounds and by pouring salt into it, can have catastrophic effects for her. This is where he has to be very gentle. He needs to be compassionate. And if the gospel's going to tell him anything, it's, again, back to this thing where, back to the first moments of the video. Don't judge. Maybe just listen first.
As to where sin comes from and why you went through what you went through. The reason why you went through what you went through is because of the human heart and the sinful actions of people, your parents, your community. That is.
I was almost on his side there. The reason this happened was because of human sinfulness. That's correct. This happened because the abuser was sinful. But then he turns it back to her parents. He doesn't mention the abusers. So this is a type of karmic justice, that the disorder and evil somehow in her life and in her family life is the reason that she became a victim of abuse. This is theological abuse. I can only think of this type of religion and this kind of pastoral care is the kind that envisions where pastors are sent to the flock to ravage the flock. This is awful.
Open the door and it's affected everybody else. It's sad. So this is why. So you want to know where Jesus was? No. You want to know where Jesus was? Jesus was on the cross, dying for sins, and before that, he was calling people to repent of their sins. But
no. Again, this is bad theology. This is. Where was Jesus when she was suffering? His answer to this is that Jesus was on the cross dying for sins. While that may have a truth to it, the way he is presenting this is almost heretical. That it makes Jesus the one who suffers for, atones for, and does for humanity this great act of divine sacrifice, the cross. But this isn't what Jesus says about his position in human suffering in the gospel. Where is Jesus when people suffer? This lady has a very important question to ask, and I think this question cuts right to the heart of modern theology, modern pastoral ministry. Where was God in my pain? Where was God when we were suffering? Where was God when this lady was a little child without any power in her situation, when she was made the victim of abuse, sexual abuse, and violence, when her brother was beaten to death, presumably as a child, by someone who was doing something so incredibly evil in the name of God? Where was Jesus when this was happening? Was he on the cross? Was he, divorced from her, so divorced from her reality that he's on this cross like a divine figure? The God man that he is. Well, no, that's not what Jesus says. Jesus says, I am with you always, even until the end of time. Jesus is with us in our suffering. And when asked, and when considering about the abuse of power, Jesus says to those in power, just as you did this to one of the least of these, who are my family, you did it to me. This is what incarnational theology means, that in Jesus, God became man, that humanity can be made divine. We participate in the divinity of Christ because he participates fully in our humanity, and that means participating in our joy, in all of our celebrations, in our heartbreak, and in our suffering. So when these children were in religious institutions, and when they were being sexually molested, when they were being violated and beaten, Jesus was one of them. He was with them individually and as a whole. Jesus was there. When this was being done to them, it was being done to him. Jesus is the God in solidarity with us. And this is what this guy is missing here, is that he has this, so divine image of Jesus that Jesus can't be as human as us and can't be with us in our suffering. See, this is triggering to me because this is important. As I said before, what happens in these discussions can have huge effects in people's lives. We don't know where this lady's at. We don't know how much this can, impact on her. She's in pain. She's experienced pain. Let's just listen and show some compassion. Let's suffer with her. That's what compassion means.
But your family, your ancestors have decided to not repent of their sins, and it's affected you, which it shouldn't have happened. And I'm grieved for what you went through. God is grieved for what you went through. And all those who harmed you and did that will have their day before God. And if they don't repent, they will be sent to hell. They will face the wrath of God for what they did to you. God is going to bring justice to every man. So in the meantime, don't let your past become your...
While I think what he's saying here, is in a sense good, that God will hold everyone to account. There will be justice for everyone. His framing of justice is purely about, retribution, that the judgment will be on the perpetrator. And that may be very good for this woman to hear. We may need the encouragement to know that those who've done great wrong will be punished for what they've done. But this isn't the only meaning of justice and judgment. That there will be justice. Well, maybe the victim and the survivor needs justice. Perhaps he might turn this around here and say, that yes, God will bring justice for you, to you. It's about restoring wholeness and peace, not just about vengeance. There is a place for righteous vengeance. I think that victims of history need a God who will do them justice, but we need the kind of justice that restores us in the here and now as well. Personal justice.
Burden forever. Let go. No, listen to me.
It's not bothering me now.
Listen to me. Listen to me. How's about listen to her? This game with the microphone, he can silence her at will. he hasn't truly listened to what she's got to say. He can pull away the microphone and still he's claiming, listen to me, listen to me. It's all wrong.
Now,
Okay,
I'm just
good.
saying to you.
So I'm telling you where Jesus was.
No,
Jesus was there.
No, you're not listening to me. My past is not bothering me anymore. I'm doing what I want to do now. And I have an 89-year-old mother, and she's still living now. And I'm minding her, and her past isn't bothering her anymore, and it hasn't bothered her, my brother anymore. We got help for that, and we're doing what we want, and we're happy now. And I will not take this. I have no religion in the world. I am happy the way I am. I know there is a God. Don't get me wrong. I do know there is a God. So don't get me wrong. I know that well. But I just hate this preaching. And it's just that abuse is abuse. Like,
I
you know.
agree. I agree.
Do you understand where I am coming from?
Absolutely. And please hear me out.
This is the harm that abuse does, especially within a religious context. This lady believes in God. She has a sense of need for God and for that kind of divine help in her life. And I hope she gets that. I hope she finds it. I hope she gets the peace in believing in a God of love and compassion and care. But because of that abuse in the context of a religious environment, she's given up on religion. And I think for her, maybe that's right. That's possibly was or still is the best place for her to be as a victim and as someone who needs to recover and get better and to heal. But this is the harm that abuse within the church has done to the church and to people, that some of them may have given up on God and on hope altogether. Some may have given up on the church and the possibility and the openness to the possibility that the church may be an ethical community of support and a pathway to redemption and a holy community. And they've alienated themselves from all of those possibilities, all of those reasons why the church exists, to be the community of Christ, to be the people of God. And they've become cast out, not by something they've done. They've left the church in order to protect themselves. And I think this is why our attitude and our judgment of the church and the church authorities who caused this hurt ought to be, we ought to be highly critical, and we've got to be rightly angry with those who've done this to people and to the church, to the people entrusted to them by God.
For 1 second.
I will now,
Okay,
but I just wanted to finish my conversation because I don't like being interrupted when I'm saying a conversation.
I understand.
Now you can talk.
Yeah, so I think what's happened now is exactly what the devil, the enemy, wanted. He used, listen, I'm not saying your mother or dad is bad people. They're not. I don't know them, right? But when our parents make decisions to go to places like, say, the Roman Catholic Church, and there's preachers saying, hey, don't worship, don't put idols in your home, don't pray to things that ought not to. And they resist preachers. They say, you know what? You preachers are crazy. They don't read the Bible. They bring their churches they bring their kids.
Okay, we can stop listening now. The reason she has suffered is because she's Catholic. God punishes Catholics because, according to him, they are idolaters. This is opportunistic rubbish. No, she never suffered because she was a Catholic. She suffered because bad people did bad things to her, and there was a scandal in that people chose to protect the reputation of the church over her safety and well-being. This had nothing to do with the idolatry of the Catholic Church. What we're seeing here is a very typical, nasty, evangelical superism. Now, for those not from Ireland, superism was something that the various other Protestant denominations did in Ireland during the Irish famine in the mid-1800s. It's when there was huge, massive communities of Catholic Irish people starving to death. They would offer them soup in exchange for attending Protestant church services, in exchange for abandoning their Catholic faith. This is opportunistic proselytization. And what this man has done is he has instrumentalized this lady's suffering. And rather cruelly, he has given her an insane reason as to why she suffered. You're suffering because you're in the demonic, devilish religion of Catholicism. Well, this is just prejudiced anti-Catholicism. This is his bigotry. To see him use this against this lady is reprehensible. It's utterly sinful, it's vile, and it's why I think so many street preachers find themselves ignored in the street. They have a problem with everyone and everything. If we want to find Jesus in this situation, Jesus is with this woman, was always with this woman. If we want to find the devil, it's in the details of the crap he's talking.